am so thankful that I got to experience this wonderful place. It's almost magical. It's amazing. The energy here and the feeling here is just, it's different. And the architecture is amazing. This place is truly, truly magnificent.
Entre las tres, ¿no?
On your little follow. Es mucho kilos. Gracias.
Ya.
Today I will be traveling through the Peruvian Andes Mountains from the town of Albanque to the city of Cusco. Cusco is known for its amazing archaeological sites, beautiful dry weather, and high altitude.
Good morning! Look at these beautiful mountains! Today's ride we're going to Cusco, and it's about 4.5 hours from here. We just left the town of Albanque. I had called it something else earlier. Of course, I never pronounce city names. Holy cow! That transport truck almost took out that car passing this truck. What was I saying? Oh yeah, don't trust me with sunglasses and city names, of course, yeah. Anyway, so today on the way, geez, it might take more than 4.5 hours with this truck. On the way to Cusco, and Cusco, I'm sure you know, has a lot of historic things like megaliths and just absolutely wonderful things to go check out. So we're going to go check out those. But in the meantime, we have a 4.5 hour drive to get there. Should I try it? Should I try it? Through the beautiful Andes Mountains. So welcome to today's ride. Not sure if we'll be able to fly at the end. Have no idea if we can fly in Cusco or not. It's a big old city, so maybe on the outskirts, something like that. I don't know. Also really high in altitude, so may have to run a bit. I don't know if we'll be able to fly or not. I'm not going to promise anything, but I am going to promise a beautiful ride through the Andes Mountains because I've heard about this ride and it's supposed to have spectacular vistas. So let's get through these turns and check it out. Already it's looking good, right? Well, it got extremely cold, and it's partially because I see snow on the mountains in front of me. These Andes are huge. I didn't have the cameras on, but one of my panniers flipped open, and I don't know if I lost anything out of it or not, but I was driving around, I see the lid flopping in the wind. So I hope I didn't lose anything out of it. Wow, look at those mountains. Wow! Wow, this road is crazy curves. It is fun. It is hard with the balance machine, but it is fun. Check it out. We'll come across this corner and right there. Look at that. Huh? The beautiful Andes Mountains. Alright, check out my map here. Hang on a second. This mountain is nothing but switchbacks the whole way. And they're all this way as well. I've been coming down this mountain for a while. But look at this beautiful view. They weren't wrong about the scenery. Look at this. This, oh God, it's beautiful. So the office is rather chilly, but our scenery out the office window is just gorgeous. I've had some really, really good luck in Peru as far as weather goes. I want to try to get as far south as I can in a hurry before I need to head north, and hopefully not catch too much of the winter storms or anything that comes across this area. So, well, this area I'm meaning like South America. Kind of a big area if you think about it. As spectacular as the mountains are, the valleys are just as spectacular. Back there, I saw some saguaro cactus. I thought they only grew in Arizona and Mexico. Here I am in southern Peru and I see them again. But look at this valley. Man, the scenery is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've had to shed my clothing more than once and add it on more than once because I keep going into the very cold and then down here where it's really hot. Look, saguaro cactus up there. Look at all the saguaros. Well, we are climbing back up again. This should be our last climb because we're only an hour and 40 out of Cusco. So they were definitely right about the vistas and the scenery. This is an amazing, amazing drive. Filled by switchbacks and just absolutely wonderful. Okay, as I turn this corner, check out the map. It's like yeah, look at that. Switchbacks all the way up. Man, that makes for a good ride. Now, if we can only find a place to fly. But in the middle of this, yeah, highly doubtful. Well, we are now in the town of Anta. A-N-T-A. I cannot, pronounce that incorrectly. Finally, a normal city name that I can pronounce. Of course, maybe it's not pronounced Anta. Maybe it's pronounced something else. A-N-T-A. How else would you pronounce it? Anta, right? Anta? Could be Ant A. Like if they're counting ants and they're like, okay, this is the very first ant we ever found, Ant A. So it could be that. Of course, then you'd also have an Ant B and Ant C. Well, you'd run out of letters. Can't be pronounced Ant A. It's Anta. We're going with Anta. Look, it's the Batman tuk-tuk. God, I hate those things. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cusco and traffic hell. Now, the inevitable, we need to find some place to stay for the night. Oh God, this is painful. Balancing the great balance machine, going 2 miles an hour.
Well, we are in the town of Cusco, and Cusco is laden with amazing, amazing buildings and artifacts and megaliths and just things from the Inca Empire and other empires. And one of the things I've always wanted to see since I was a kid, it's called, well, it's Sexy Woman, but it's not actually called Sexy Woman. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it's something like Sexy Woman. So we're gonna go check that out, and I'd love to show it to you. And I'm so excited to see this place because I've seen pictures of this place since I was a kid, and I've always been fascinated with it. So we're gonna grab the cameras and let's go check out Sexy woman.
My first stop would be in the city of Cusco to visit the church and convent of Santo Domingo. Now, unfortunately, this is a church, but the stones used to build this church were dismantled from a much more ancient structure named Coricancha, which was the Inca Temple of the Sun. The original structure, which is a masterclass in masonry, was used by the Inca to worship the god Inti, and was brimming with gold. Even a child looking at this magnificent structure, which now is only left as a small percentage of the original building, would wonder how a primitive peoples with only copper tools could craft such a masterpiece. Each stone containing channels and fitting perfectly with their pairs of stone made of andesite. All of this done without cement or the technology to shape such hard surfaces. One is left wondering if it wasn't the gods who built this for the peoples who would later offer sacrifices to them. But now we are only left with questions and speculation, as the Catholic Church destroyed the temple, removing the stones and taking a masterpiece of masonry and erecting an abomination of cement and brick in its place. The two structures, side by side, give you the feeling that the church was built by an apprentice whose skills are a millennia behind that of the masterwork that was destroyed to build it. My next stop would be to the place I had come to the city to see, Sasayama. Sasayama is a complex of enormous structures, all built without the use of cement. Unlike Coricancha, the workmanship of this site is done using polygonal stones which fit perfectly into place, providing the structure with the ability to survive earthquakes and catastrophic events. This place is enormous, and each step and each stone bewilder the viewer with how it was constructed and how these massive stones were shaped and put into place.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in Sasayama. It's not actually pronounced sexy woman, it's Sasayama. And Sasayama is not his actual true name. The true name was Sasayama, which was two words. Sasay, which means jagged, and Oman, which means head. So the original name was the Jagged Head. And the Jagged Head got its name because of something called polygonal masonry. Polygonal masonry is basically that the bricks or the stones that are used are not square. They each have their own special polygon. And the Greeks called this Cyclopean architecture. Cyclopean from the word cyclops. In other words, the Greeks believed that in their mythos, the Cyclops giants actually made the megaliths. Not these necessarily, but the polygonal masonry all over the world. And so this term today is actually used as Cyclopean architecture or polygonal masonry. You can see in the polygons that each stone is placed in its own unique way. And if we go to a place where a stone is removed, you can see that it's actually hewn very smooth for that stone to be placed in there in a very unique, different way. So we're going to head up to the larger stones, and I will show you more of Sasayama, or sexy woman, once we're there. Some of these stones are multiple tons in weight. They're huge, and they're hewn together in such a way that even the air cannot pass through. But you can see behind me that there's two different types of structures. On the bottom you have the polygonal masonry, but then on the top you have basically stones thrown together. Now, the tour guides and the archaeological people in the area would like you to believe that both were made by the same people. But even a third grader can see that you don't start with perfect masonry and then in later generations end up with basically stones thrown on top. So there's a huge controversy on who actually made the large stones beneath. Of course, they give credit to the Incas for the stones thrown on top because the Incas themselves say they found this place and it was built by the gods. Who the gods were, well, that's up for debate. Either way, the masonry is unbelievable. No mortar is used in the polygonal masonry, And these stones are massive. Polygonal masonry was originally constructed to be earthquake proof. And in fact, you can see in this corner how well the stones have actually survived. But over here you can see gaps through the stones because this area has actually been subjected to many earthquakes over the years. Either way, it's still standing, and no one really knows how old this really is.
The complex of Sasayama is quite large, and walking through the site you can see evidence of different times the complex was used. It is quite obvious in the construction where the Incas would utilize this structure and build onto the existing stones to make them useful for homes or kitchens or gathering places. However, the striking difference between the original stonework and what the Incas built is night and day. Even the steps built by the Incas are obviously of questionable craftsmanship, whereas the grandeur of the original masons is so well done that even after thousands of years, one is still left in awe.
I am so thankful that I got to experience this wonderful place. It's almost magical. It's amazing. The energy here and the feeling here is just, it's different. And the architecture is amazing. This place is truly, truly magnificent. But from here, we're gonna go check out another place around Cusco as well.
The Incas believed in three realms: the sky, whose warden was the condor; the land, whose warden was the jaguar; the underworld, where life comes from, whose warden was the snake. In a cave in Cuenco, one can find an altar to the earth, which is still used to this day. From the complex of Sasayama, I would visit Tambamache. The site's mysterious name has an origin which is unknown. Additionally, the site itself is shrouded in mystery as no one knows its true purpose. What is known is that it was built around natural springs whose waters still run to this day. Interestingly, this site, amongst many other megalithic sites worldwide, contains doorways leading to a wall of stone. Additionally, one can see the melting of the rock from some catastrophic event in the far past. Some have speculated that the spring is perpetual, but along with many other places around Cusco, one is left to ponder using their imagination. Finally, I would visit the military ruins of Puka Puka Ara, which name means Red Fortress. This site was used as a defensive area by the Incas and is comprised of walls, terraces, and staircases. This site also uses the polygonal masonry seen at Sasayama, but whose stones are much smaller and whose walls appear to be made a bit more hastily.
What I find so interesting about this place is the different types of polygonal masonry. Here, the polygonal masonry is very small, or the stones are very small, until you go around the corner, and around the corner, the stones are actually rather large. Not as large as Sasayama, but fairly large. Also, there seems to be some sort of destruction that happened here. You can see that here, it's almost as if a cataclysm happened, and you can see that really in the base of these steps. The steps start off really well, and then it was almost like there was a cataclysmic event that kind of flowed over the stones. Fairly interesting. What's really amazing is how high up in the sky we are. This mountain is very tall. We're about 3,500 meters. And if you look around, you can actually see pine trees and evergreen trees, even the blue evergreen trees out in the distance. All of these megaliths were built high up on the mountains. So you actually have to take your time walking up the stairs unless you're acclimated to this type of elevation, because the air is very thin here. Which lets me know that if I was going to fly from here, I'd be running a long time just to get enough lift. But look how wonderful this place is made.
Leaving Pucapucara meant that I would endeavor on the long journey over the Altiplano Plateau, a long and cold stretch of the Andes Mountains that would take me many days to cross. High winds and freezing temperatures would greet me through this area, so I was fairly reluctant to leave the comfort of Cusco. At this point, I'm desperate for a place to fly, but I know it will be weeks before I can launch my paramotor again, and the only opportunity I would have this time of year would be on the far side of the Andes at a much lower altitude away from the Antarctic winds that were going to greet me at these high altitudes. But I must press on. Bolivia awaits, and I am anxious to see what that country has to offer, though I know in the back of my mind that there won't be much flying. Before I left, I wanted to see how the natives of Peru made the warm blankets and sweaters from the alpaca herds I had seen driving here. Still handmade from looms and dyed with vibrant colors, I remembered watching my mother spinning wool on a wheel in the living room as a child, and with this thought in my head, I would leave Peru, pack up the motorcycle, and venture higher into the Andes Mountains. If you liked this adventure, subscribe to the channel and join me each week on a new video as I travel through South America. Press the like button so I know you enjoyed it, and most of all, write me a comment. I'd love to hear from you.